about watching a human body move through space. Not running, not sprinting, not even jogging, just walking. One foot in front of the other, a rhythm older than civilization itself, a movement so fundamental that we rarely pause to consider its extraordinary power. And yet, in this simple act of walking, we find one of nature's most elegant solutions to a problem that vexes millions: the stubborn persistence of body fat that refuses to yield to our desires for health and vitality. When we talk about fat loss, we're really talking about energy. Not energy in the motivational poster sense, but energy in its most literal physical form. The calories that fuel every breath, every heartbeat, every thought passing through your mind right now. Your body is an engine, though not quite like any engine humans have ever built. It's adaptable, learning, constantly recalibrating its relationship with the fuel you provide and the demands you place upon it. And walking, this movement we often dismiss as too simple, too easy, too gentle to matter, engages this engine in ways that respect its design rather than fighting against it. Think about what happens in your body when you walk. Your heart rate elevates, but not dramatically. Perhaps from 70 beats per minute at rest to somewhere between 90 and 120, depending on your pace and the terrain beneath your feet. This gentle elevation matters more than you might imagine. At this moderate intensity, your body preferentially draws upon fat stores for fuel. Not exclusively, your muscles always use a mixture of carbohydrates and fats, but the proportion shifts beautifully in favor of fat oxidation when you maintain this steady, sustainable pace. There's a misconception that haunts fitness culture, this idea that we must suffer, must push ourselves to breathless exhaustion, must feel our muscles burning and our lungs gasping to earn the right to change our bodies. But your metabolism doesn't respond to punishment or moral worthiness. It responds to consistent signals, to patterns repeated day after day, to stresses that challenge without overwhelming. Walking provides exactly this kind of signal. It whispers to your body rather than shouting, and sometimes whispers are heard more clearly than screams. Consider the mitochondria in your muscle cells, these tiny powerhouses inherited from ancient bacteria that merged with our cellular ancestors billions of years ago. They are the sites where fat molecules are broken down and converted into usable energy. When you walk regularly, these mitochondria become more numerous and more efficient. Your body literally builds more of the machinery needed to burn fat, responding to the consistent demand you're placing upon it. This adaptation doesn't happen overnight. It unfolds over weeks and months, a quiet revolution happening in billions of cells simultaneously. Invisible to the eye, but measurable in how you feel, how you move, how your clothes fit. But there's something even more fascinating happening during these walks. Something that touches on the very nature of how our bodies regulate themselves. Your endocrine system, that vast network of hormones orchestrating everything from hunger to sleep to stress response, undergoes subtle but significant shifts with regular walking. Insulin sensitivity improves, meaning your cells become more responsive to the hormone that ushers glucose out of your bloodstream and into cells where it's needed. This matters tremendously for fat loss because chronically elevated insulin levels essentially lock fat inside your adipose tissue, making it difficult to access those stored calories. Walking helps unlock these stores not through any single bout of activity, but through the cumulative effect of consistent movement. And then there's cortisol, that much maligned stress hormone that serves vital functions but causes problems when chronically elevated. Intense exercise, while beneficial in its own right, does spike cortisol levels temporarily. For someone already carrying high stress, from work, relationships, financial pressure, the general anxiety of modern existence? Adding more intense stress through grueling workouts can sometimes backfire. Walking, particularly in natural settings when possible, tends to lower cortisol levels. You're giving your body a different message, not fight or flight, but calm, sustained movement. Safety. The kind of activity our ancestors engaged in for hours every day while gathering food, migrating seasonally, living in harmony with the landscape. There's a mathematical elegance to walking that deserves attention. Let's say you walk at a moderate pace of about 3.5 miles per hour, brisk but still conversational, for 1 hour. Depending on your body weight, you might burn somewhere between 200 and 400 calories. This might seem modest compared to the breathless promises of high-intensity interval training or the caloric infernos of running. But here's where consistency reveals its power. If you walk for an hour every single day, not 5 days, not when you feel motivated, but every day, you're creating a weekly caloric deficit of 1,400 to 2,800 calories from walking alone, not counting the metabolic improvements and increased daily activity that naturally accompany a walking practice. Over a month, this compounds. Over 6 months, it transforms. And here's the crucial part: you can sustain this. Walking doesn't demolish your joints, doesn't leave you so exhausted you collapse on the couch for the rest of the day, doesn't require recovery days that interrupt your routine. It's gentle enough to do daily, yet significant enough to create real change. This sustainability is not a weakness, but a tremendous strength, because fat loss isn't about what you can do for a week or a month when motivation runs high. It's about what you can maintain when life gets complicated, when motivation wanes, when you're tired or stressed or simply going through the ordinary challenges of being human. Your body adapts to walking in ways that extend beyond the activity itself. People who walk regularly tend to move more throughout the entire day. They take the stairs more readily, they stand more often, they fidget and shift and engage in what researchers call non-exercise activity thermogenesis, all the calorie burning that happens outside of formal exercise. This isn't conscious effort, but a natural consequence of a body that has relearned the joy and ease of movement. You're not forcing yourself to move more. You're rediscovering that movement is your natural state, and stillness is what requires effort. There's also something profound happening in your brain during these walks. Neurologically, walking stimulates the release of endorphins and other neurotransmitters that improve mood and reduce anxiety. But more than that, the rhythmic, bilateral movement of walking, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, seems to have an almost meditative quality. It allows your mind to wander in ways that seated meditation or intense exercise doesn't. Solutions to problems bubble up unbidden. Creative insights arrive. The mental chatter that dominates so much of our waking life settles into a gentler rhythm. And this mental shift has physical consequences, because stress eating, emotional eating, the use of food as comfort or distraction, these behaviors often loosen their grip when you have another, healthier way to process the internal turbulence of being alive. Let's talk about what happens to fat cells themselves, because understanding this can shift how you think about your body. Fat cells don't disappear when you lose fat. Except in cases of extreme weight loss, the number of fat cells remains relatively constant in adulthood. What changes is their size. Each adipocyte, each fat cell, can swell or shrink dramatically depending on how much triglyceride it's storing. When you create a caloric deficit through walking and other lifestyle choices, your body begins pulling those stored triglycerides out of the cells, breaking them down into fatty acids and glycerol, shipping them through the bloodstream to muscles and organs that need fuel. The fat cells shrink, becoming smaller and less metabolically active. They're still there, ready to store energy again if circumstances change, but for now, they're releasing rather than hoarding. This process happens all over your body, though not uniformly. You cannot spot reduced fat through any exercise, walking included. Your genetics determine the pattern of fat loss, and it rarely follows the pattern you might prefer. Often, the fat that arrived last is the first to leave, while the stubborn deposits that have been with you longest cling on tenaciously. This can be frustrating, but understanding the biology helps cultivate patience. Your body is responding, even when the changes aren't visible exactly where you want them. Measurements change, energy levels improve, fitness increases, even before your reflection in the mirror shows the transformation you're anticipating. Walking also offers something that no gym, no fitness class, no exercise video can fully replicate: connection with the world beyond your own thoughts. When you walk outside, you're exposed to changing light, to weather, to the seasons cycling through their ancient patterns. These environmental factors influence your circadian rhythms, your vitamin D production, your sense of being part of something larger than your individual concerns. Even walking the same route daily reveals subtle changes, different quality of light, different sounds, the gradual transformation of trees through the seasons. This connection matters for the same reason that all meaningful change requires context. You're not just trying to lose fat, you're trying to inhabit your body more fully, to participate in the physical world with greater ease and joy. For people carrying significant excess weight, walking offers an entry point that more intense exercise cannot. If your knees ache, if breathlessness comes quickly, if you're dealing with conditions that make vigorous exercise dangerous or impossible, walking remains accessible. You start where you are. Maybe that's 10 minutes around the block, moving slowly, perhaps stopping to rest. Maybe it's walking in a pool, where buoyancy supports your weight and reduces joint stress. The beautiful thing about walking is that it scales. As you build capacity, you can walk farther, faster, on more varied terrain. But you never have to. Even maintaining a gentle, moderate pace yields benefits that accumulate over time. There's a social dimension to walking that we should acknowledge as well. Humans are profoundly social creatures, and our behaviors are shaped by the people around us. Walking lends itself to companionship in ways that many other forms of exercise don't. You can walk with friends, with family, with your dog, engaging in conversation while moving together. This social support makes consistency easier. You're accountable to someone else, but more than that, the activity becomes associated with connection and pleasure rather than obligation and suffering. Some of the most important conversations of your life might happen during walks. The rhythm of movement somehow making it easier to speak truths that feel too vulnerable to share across a table. Let's consider the relationship between walking and appetite, because this is where walking reveals another subtle but significant advantage. Intense exercise often stimulates appetite dramatically in the hours following activity. Your body, having burned through readily available fuel and perceiving the intense exertion as a significant stress, signals hunger to encourage replenishment. This isn't bad, it's appropriate recovery, but it can make maintaining a caloric deficit challenging. Walking, particularly at moderate intensities, tends to suppress appetite slightly during and immediately after the activity. The effect isn't enormous, but when combined with improved insulin sensitivity and better stress hormone regulation, it contributes to an environment where fat loss becomes more achievable without constant white-knuckled hunger. Sleep improves with regular walking too, and sleep's role in fat loss cannot be overstated. During deep sleep, your body repairs tissues, consolidates memories, and regulates the hormones that control hunger and satiety. Leptin and ghrelin, the hormones that signal fullness and hunger respectively, fall out of balance when you're sleep-deprived, making you hungrier and less satisfied by the food you eat. Walking, especially earlier in the day or in natural light, helps regulate your circadian rhythm and promotes better sleep quality. You're not just burning calories during the walk itself, you're creating conditions throughout your entire day and night that support fat loss. There's something almost revolutionary about embracing walking in a culture obsessed with optimization, with intensity, with doing more, faster, harder. Walking asks you to slow down, to be present, to trust that consistent, sustainable effort over time will yield results that frantic, unsustainable efforts cannot. This requires a different kind of courage than pushing yourself to exhaustion. It requires faith in processes you cannot see, in changes happening at cellular and hormonal levels, in the wisdom of your body when you provide it with appropriate signals rather than constant stress. As you develop a walking practice over months and years, something shifts in your identity. You become someone who walks, not someone who is trying to exercise or forcing themselves to work out, but simply someone for whom walking is a natural, integrated part of life. This identity shift matters enormously for long-term success. You're no longer relying on motivation or willpower, those finite resources that ebb and flow. You're operating from habit and identity, from a sense of, this is simply what I do. The walk becomes non-negotiable not because you're grimly determined, but because it's woven into the fabric of your day like sleeping or eating. Walking won't give you the physique of an elite athlete. It won't build massive muscles or create the kind of dramatic transformation documented in before and after photos that flood social media. But it will do something perhaps more valuable. It will make you healthier, more energetic, more mentally clear, more metabolically efficient. It will reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, depression, anxiety, cognitive decline. It will help you lose fat and maintain that loss far more reliably than extreme approaches that demand unsustainable effort. And it will do all of this while asking you only to do something you were designed to do, something humans have done for hundreds of thousands of years before cars and elevators and desk jobs made it possible to live without walking. The ultimate guide to fat loss through walking isn't really about technique or equipment or optimal speed and duration, though these details have their place. It's about understanding that your body is not your enemy, that it will respond to patient, consistent care, that the ancient movement of walking carries within it a power that our technology-saturated culture has forgotten, but your cells remember. It's about trusting the process, showing up day after day, and letting the cumulative effect of thousands of steps carry you toward the health and vitality you seek. One foot in front of the other, a journey measured not in miles, but in the quiet transformation of body and mind as you walk your way to fitness.